And welcome back to Kerbal Space Program. In our last mission, managed to fail very nicely at delivering cargo to the new space dock. And so, I think the first thing to do here is to do a little bit of a redesign on this cargo ship, because obviously it doesn't have quite enough oomph to get into position. So I'm going to add some more fuel to it on all of its various stages. And then, these out of the way, I'm going to strap on some solid boosters to help get it off the ground and get it started. Looks like that should take care of that. Throw some struts on this thing, and I think we ought to be ready to give it a shot. Alright, looks like it ought to do the trick. And just for a little bit more control authority, put some SAS modules on there to give it some more torque. Alright. Stability enhancers in place. Make sure they're in the right place. Get all the engines pulled down to the right place. Double check the staging. This is separator motors. Alright. Looks like the Cargo 5 might just have a better shot here. Let's see. Let's throw a flight engineer on here, since that mod has been updated. Okay, looks like it got a really high thruster weight ratio for liftoff, and I think we're going to do okay with that. That's going to give us a lot more get up and go for getting into orbit. So, let us launch. Okay, and we have Bill Kerman flying this one. Let's see, the flight engineer's been updated. Surface information, vessel information, rendezvous stuff. Cool. Not quite sure how to use this phase angle thing. I have to see what I can do about that, because relative inclination, that I understand. But phase angle, I'm not quite sure what that is. I have to look that up, find out what that is, and how to use it. Okay, I'm going to turn that part of MechJet off. Just use the flight engineer. All right. Let's see, where is spacedock 1 in its orbit right now? How about that? It's just approaching to where it's going to be overhead soon. So, if I launch now and get into an orbit 104 kilometers up, then I've got a good chance of being able to have an easier time rendezvousing with it. So, let us do that. And go. That mess. Okay. 117. Not too bad. I like that this shows the distance to our destination in addition to relative inclination and phase angle and so on. This shows that, from what I can see here, we should be approaching it actually. We're getting pretty close. 36 kilometers, 35. Okay, as tempting as it is to do something now, I'm going to go ahead and get into an orbit and actually rendezvous, because this orbit won't rendezvous. It'll pass by close, but that's the extent of that. So, advance time ahead and get around to apoapsis. There. Okay. Right around horizontal. And let us burn. Periapsis up. What's there? 104 kilometers. All right. Now all we have to do is swing around to periapsis and bring the apoapsis down to 104. That's 121. There's 104. That's our target. And actually, no, actually, come to think of it, yeah, we need our orbit to be, yeah, space dock is ahead of us, so our orbit needs to be lower so that we can catch up to it. That means I need to bring the periapsis back down to, say, 95. All right, that'll work. Ah, okay. Get around to retrograde sometime today. It's okay if we pass the apoapsis a little bit. All right. Periapsis down to 95. Now we swing around to periapsis. Doing good. Oh well, hit the wrong key. Swing around to periapsis, bring the apoapsis down to 93, and we'll be orbiting just a little bit faster than the space dock, which will allow us to eventually catch up with it. Okay. Retrograde. Maneuver's a whole lot better with the RCS thrusters on it. Okay. actually going to wait till I'm past periapsis just a little bit. Bring the apoapsis down to 93, as close as I can get to it. Waiting until I'm past periapsis has this burn affect the periapsis a lot less that way. Gives me a better chance of having an even orbit. That, and I'm using low thrust. Okay, 93 by 93, essentially. And here's our situation. There's the space dock. There's us. We are 89 kilometers away. We are closing at 19 meters per second. It's kind of slow, I'll grant you, and it means we may have to go around a few orbits to get to it, but we will eventually catch up. And then once we catch up, rendezvous will be a lot easier. And I'll be back after we've gotten close enough to begin a rendezvous burn. All right, we're progressing here. We've closed to almost 52 kilometers, still closing at 14.9 meters per second. Like I said before, it's slow, but it's steady, and it's absolutely inevitable. I know that it would seem tempting to use the engines to speed up and close in faster, but the way orbital mechanics work, if I were to do that, I would send the apoapsis way up high, and I would not be in an orbit that would be easy to rendezvous with this thing from. So, just keep going until I close the distance. And I found a really good resource on the Kerbal Space Program forums, and that is this chart. Now, this chart is in a forum thread titled Orbital Rendezvous Made Easy, and I'll put a link to that thread in the description where you can get this chart. And basically, what it does is it helps you figure out when to do a burn to make your orbit start to match the target orbit. Now here on the left-hand side is the orbit of your ship, and on the top is the target orbit. From this, you have to remember the radius of the planet is 600 kilometers. So you take your orbit, add 600 to it, and you look it up on here. Now, my orbit right now is 93 kilometers. The closest item on here to that is 95. So 695. My target orbit is 102 right now. It also goes as high as 104. So I'm going to say, okay, 705. So where 695 meets 705 on the chart, it says 25.4. And what that means is that when I am 25.4 kilometers away from this ship, I do a burn to raise my apoapsis to match the target's apoapsis. Then I coast to apoapsis and raise my periapsis to match that number as well. And I will then be in the same orbit as that ship, and I will be within 20 kilometers of that ship when I do it. And from there, it's a simple matter of using linear translation thrusters to close the remaining distance, which, of course, this makes docking easier and so on. So, I am going to continue to coast until I come to within 25.4 kilometers, and I'll bring you back in then. All right, we have just passed inside 25.4 kilometers, time compression, and now it's just a simple matter of burn prograde bring my apoapsis up to 102.9. I'm going to call it 103 or a hair over to allow for the target ship having a 104 apoapsis, I think it is. All right. Minimum burn. I'm going to call that good enough right there, 104.014. Perfect. All right. Now, all I need to do is coast around to apoapsis, bring the periapsis up, and I will essentially be just about in the same orbit. And so, once again, I'll be back at apoapsis. All right, here we are, about 145 seconds out of apoapsis. We're coming into just inside 10 kilometers away, closing at 4.7 meters per second. Now, it does look like we're a little bit ahead, but we're still closing in. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead now and get into prograde position, burn the periapsis up to 103, and you'll notice that we are now almost within 8 kilometers. And as a matter of fact, turn the RCS off. There's our target ship. So let's burn that periapsis up to 103. Nice easy touch on the throttle. There we go. We are closing. We're within 6.5 kilometers of the target ship now. And the thing about the orbital construction thing, when delivering cargo to a space dock, you must be within 10 kilometers to deliver the cargo. We are now within 10 kilometers, so let us deliver the cargo. Well, our cargo's been delivered, but somebody's going to lose their job over this. Bill Kerman is in a capsule, has a parachute, it's even got some RCS thrusters, but there's no more RCS fuel because it, along with the rest of the ship, was delivered as cargo to the space station, the space dock, which is all fine and dandy in and of itself. However, somebody on the design team didn't bother to think that Bill would need a fuel tank and an engine to do a retro burn and deorbit himself. He is now trapped in orbit. Like I said, somebody's going to lose their job over this.